everyone, welcome to this Halloween day. Today, Viperstrike 95 here, and welcome to a spooky day here in San Diego, California at night. I'm decided today that we're going to do something really nice. So we're going to be flying to Los Angeles, California, and we're going to fly straight to LA today on this spooky Halloween themed stream. So we're going to be doing some really awesome flying here. So before we get going, let's talk about the spookiness that is Halloween. So the tradition of modern day Halloween goes all the way back, goes way, way back. It has been observed in many countries on October 31st, the eve of the Western Christian feast of All Hallows Day, which is one of the old Western Christian traditions, and it begins the observance of All Hallowtide, the time of the year dedicated to the remembering of the dead, including saints, martyrs, and all the departed. Apparently, one theory suggests that these Halloween traditions were inspired by Celtic harvest festivals, while other academics believe it is actually a Christian holiday, being the vigil of All Hallows Day. And this holiday has been celebrated in Ireland and Scotland for centuries. In fact, many of those migrants brought those traditions here to the United States in the 19th century, and through the influence of the United States, Halloween spread to other countries by the late 20th and early 21st century as well. And many different Halloween activities include the mighty trick-or-treating, Halloween costume parties, carving pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns, bonfires, apple bobbing, and way, way more. So, welcome everyone. Martel172 is here. Good to see you on this happy Halloween. It would be quite the trip, to say the least. Good to see you. So, for our spooky little flight plan today, we're going to be flying we're gonna take off here from Montgomery Gov's Executive, Kilo Mike Yankee Foxtrot. We're gonna go across the hills and plains of Southern California. We're gonna land on our first stop here at Warner Springs, Charlie Lima 335. Then we're gonna go on the side of Palomar Mountain. We're gonna be going across the entire valley of Southern California, including Diamond Valley Lake, and flying through Moreno Valley and all that such. And we'll be here at Kilo Romeo, India Romeo, right near Riverside, California. And then for our third and final leg of the trip, we're going to go from here. We're going to fly to Anaheim, California. We're going to visit the Honda Center, Angel Stadium, and visit all throughout the LA metropolitan area. Anaheim for Angel Stadium, Honda Center, Disneyland, yes, the original Disney theme park, Knott's Berry Farm, one of the local theme parks of the area. Dignity Health Sports Park, home of the Los Angeles LAFC, professional association football club. Then the site of Sulfide Stadium, the new home of the Los Angeles Rams. We'll also be checking out the old Forum as well. Then we'll be flying in the third leg. We're going to be visiting quite a few other landmarks. The famous LA Memorial Coliseum. Then we'll visit the site of the old Wrigley Field in LA, the LA Wrigley Field. Then visit the Staples Center, the LA Convention Center. Then we'll get to fly to one of baseball's most iconic ballparks, Dodger Stadium. Then fly to Hollywood, visit the Griffith Observatory, and then we'll check the Hollywood sign, and then we'll land at Bob Hope in Burbank, California. So, quite a bit of an expansive flight plan, to say for the least. We'll be visiting a lot of classic LA and Anaheim landmarks. Thankfully, it'll be in photogrammetry, so we get plenty of opportunities. Scotland Blerial Project, good afternoon. Hey, good to see you. You're an absolute madman, but you're a madman that I respect. Fred All, good to see you. So obviously from the title, we are going to take the Savage Cub. I wanted something a little spookier for this Halloween trip. It's going to be at night, but I think it's going to be a fun one. And the reason also too, this is a pretty easy plane to start and get flying. Once the brake's been set, I'll set the brakes. Turn up, pull the choke. We turn on the master switch. Yes, I know it's dark out here, but I got the plan. Nice. It's going to be weird flying this bad boy at night, but I never really done a night flying thing on this channel, on this stream before. I never flew. This is my first time night flying on stream, so this is going to be really interesting. But it's also kind of fitting considering this is Halloween. It's also kind of hard to see the runway because it's dark out here. So I'm going to be on my nav map, so I apologize if I can't really see the chat. This is night flying here, so there is lightning, so at least there is. Hopefully we may get. Hopefully I might get some candy tonight. Okay, I think that's set. I'm on runway 28 left. I'm on this. Will the landmarks be more visible in daylight? Yeah, that's why I set it to a little early in the morning. Yeah, the weather seems awful. I made it stormy because this is Halloween, and Halloween usually typically is pretty stormy. That's why I set the weather like that. I want something more festive than just pure sunlight. I'm gonna go ahead and take off here. It's really hard to see in the dark. Woo! Scary. Well, we're already off. Like I said, the Savage Cub is basically off the Super Cub. Will the Landmarks be more visible daylight? Ferdal says yes, they would be more visible, but I want to do some early night flying. I never done night flying on my stream before. And the only landmarks are going to be on the third leg. But I mean, it'll be fun to actually do some different kind of night flying. So once I get everyone in the air, we're going to fly at a heading of 28 degrees. And our main altitude, according to my nav map, we need to be flying at 5,500 feet. So turn back to our heading. gonna have to readjust the trim. But yeah, look how the lights look at night. It looks really cool. Jared Zeus, good to see you. Yeah, good to see you, Zeus, and I see Martel. Yeah, this is really, really cool to fly at night. I never done night flying on stream. Like I said, I've never done night flying on stream before, so this is going to be brand new for me. And I'm honestly very, very excited. And plus, the other reason I took the Cub is because I haven't actually completed a full stream with it. So, because if you recall, the last time I took the Savage Cub, which was back during the St. Louis episode, the original one, that one had the photogrammetry bug, and I couldn't do anything on that one. So then I had to switch to the Cessna 152. So I had to actually decide to use this for today. So we are here today. So I'm going to pull up my slideshow and I will be ready. I need to change back. But today we'll be doing Dodgers and Angels in the outfield, which Dodgers and Angels kind of represents LA's two baseball teams. The Dodgers, and then Angels in the outfield is a reference to the Angels in the outfield. Both Angels in the outfield movies, but more specifically the remake of the 1994 movie, Angels in the Outfield, which talks about the Angels of California. So we get to the Los Angeles Angels here, the LA Angels being the younger of the two Los Angeles franchises. They were established back in 1961 and currently play in the American League West Division. In the history of the franchise, they only have one AL pennant and World Series title all the way back in 2002, but they were successful with 9 American League West titles during their time as well. They currently play in Angel Stadium in Anaheim, which is located in the greater LA metropolitan area, and their team colors have been red, navy, blue, and silver, but that's not always been the case, especially in the late 90s. I'll show you those in a little bit. From 1969 through 2021, the Angels' overall win-loss record is 4,812 and 4,838, which is around 49% of their games, which isn't too bad. Now, the history of the Los Angeles Angels goes all the way back to when after the Dodgers moved to LA from Brooklyn. And there was a lot of growing interest in the city, and the American League wanted to have a team in Los Angeles. So in 1960, the American League announced to have a franchise built for the 1961 season. And guess who they actually owned the Angels by that time? The legendary country music star and country icon Gene Autry. And for those who don't know anything about Gene Autry is one of the most iconic country artists of all time. One of the most iconic pioneering figures in all country music, and he's a huge icon, especially after the 1930s. And he owned the team all the way back until 1997. So definitely one of the iconic music stars. The Angels finished their first season with the 70-91 record, and then for the next 4 seasons, they actually played at Dodger Stadium, but since they didn't want the Angels to be called Dodger Stadium, they instead went by a new name. The Chavez Ravine was actually the stadium name for the Angels, with the team being rather inconsistent, with the high mark being an 86 and 76 record in 1962. Then finally the team got its own stadium as they moved to Angel Stadium in Anaheim and are renamed the California Angels. Now, I want to go back to the picture previously. So you see this big A there? This is the big A landmark that's actually currently in the parking lot. So that's why the Anaheim Stadium is called the Big A. But I'll probably speak into greater detail later. Throughout the 1970s, the Angels remained inconsistent. but they did enjoy success from having the fireballer Nolan Ryan. They also had Rod Carew as well. In 1979, the Angels finally made their first playoff appearance by claiming the AL West title behind the back of an MVP season from Don Baylor. And they challenged the Orioles in the ALCS that year, and unfortunately, they fell in 4 games and denied a World Series. And the 1980s proved to be really difficult for the team. For example, in 1982, the Angels faced the Brewers in the ALCS, and while they took the first 2 games of the ALCS, they were 1 game away from doing it, but then they lost the next 3. They choked the next 3 games to lose a series to the Brewers, and then 4 years later, they were 1 out away from the World Series against the Red Sox in ALCS in Game 5. And guess who they gave up a 9th-inning home run to? Oh yeah, Don Baylor, their former Angel star. That is especially ironic. And that loss spurred 2 more losses in Games 6 and 7, and that cost them a pennant. Which is really, really rough for the Angels. Like, the 80s just was a really frustrating decade for a lot of Angels fans, and rightfully so. And then, coming into the 1990s, the Angels were playing sub-500 baseball, and that was because there was ownership issues. For example, Gene Autry was kind of failing in health. Hold on 1 second. Who's creaming? No. Sorry. I don't deal with the politics of creaming and all that. I'm sorry. In the 1995 Angels were close to the American West title. In fact, they were 11 games ahead in 1995. But then they collapsed late in the season, and they lost to the Mariners of the AL West, which was really, really rough. Which are really, really rough in the American League West. And that led to a big issue for Angel Baseball. In 1996, Walt Disney Company actually bought the team, and they renamed the Anaheim Angels. And they actually had a pretty unique color scheme I'll probably show you later. But then after a few more years of rebuilding, the Angels not only had a new rebrand, but they shocked a lot of teams that year as they reached for the playoffs as a wild card. They defeated both the Yankees and the Twins to gain their first American League pennant. And they faced against the Barry Bonds-led San Francisco Giants. And they stunned everyone by taking the World Series in 7 games to finally claim their first championship in franchise history. And then for the rest of the 2000s, while the Angels could make the World Series, they were perennially contending for the playoffs. They were a perennial playoff contender. Especially with division titles in 2004, 2005, and then 2007 through 2009, which were an incredibly successful period in Angels history. And after the 2009 offseason, hey Kazaki, Flyers in the chat, good to see you. Hey guys, if you haven't gotten a chance, go give Kazaki Flyer a follow. I think he's put some really interesting and informative streams, and I definitely think you should check out Kazaki Flyer. I think he would be. He's got 15 followers. Let's hope we can bump it up as much as we can. The 2010s were really inconsistent. Despite having a division title in 2014 and the superstar rise of none other than Mike Trout, one of the game's great players. Is volume voice good for everyone? Seems low to me. I think it's due to the weather, maybe. Let me see. I have none filters. I think it's just me being a little low. As of this year, the 2021 Angels finished 4th in the American League West with a 77-85 record. So with that, now now for the Angels icons. Now being a younger franchise, they do have some really good players historically, and there's quite a few audible mentions I did leave out, but I have good reasons for it. So the first is probably one of the most successful players of their first 10 years of existence, that being Jim Vergosi. Now, Jim Vergosi was a really good career as a player. He was a solid hitter at first base, but he was also a very successful manager too. Even though he didn't get a World Series, he was a manager all the way for 4 different teams from 1970 to 2000, which is pretty crazy. He was somewhat successful manager ranging from that decade. Now, Jim Vergosi had a career .265 batting average with 151 homers and 706 RBIs. He also had over 1,000 wins as a manager. Jim Vergosi was a 6-time All-Star and a Gold Glove Award winner in 1967. But the reason I know Jim Vergosi quite well was he was the manager of the Louisville Redbirds minor league team back in the 80s, which was actually really cool. Then the next one was probably, in my opinion, the best pitcher in Angels history, Chuck Finley. He spent 14 seasons with the Angels, and then 2 other seasons with 2 different teams. But he was the team's finest pitcher, and currently he holds records for including games started, wins, losses, and innings pitched in Angel history. He had a career .385 ERA with 200 wins exactly and over 2,600 strikeouts. He's also a 5-time All-Star, and unbelievably, he's also the first pitcher in Major League history to record 4 strikeouts in a single inning more than once. And if you wonder, how can someone get 4 strikeouts in 1 inning? Well, usually there are 3 outs. Well, if someone strikes out but a ball drops and gets by the base runner, then it wouldn't really be an out. So he can get 4 strikeouts. It's a very weird technicality. But Chuck Finley was actually really good. When he was good, Chuck Finley was actually very, very good. Then how about the next player? How about a Hall of Famer? The first Hall of Fame Angel player on the Angels, Vladimir Guerrero. Now, Vladimir Guerrero was one of the most impressive all-around hitters of the 2000s, as he was known for his incredible offensive production. He's an RBI generating machine, as long as his very solid defense and very strong throwing arm. Vladimir Guerrero had a career .318 batting average with 2,500 over almost 2,600 hits, 449 home runs. He almost got 1,500 RBIs too, which is extremely impressive for Vlad. A 9-time All-Star, he won the American League MVP in 2004, and 8 times was a Silver Slugger. But one of the most interesting facts about Vlad is that he is the game's premier bad ball hitter. Guerrero has even been known to consistently hit baseballs thrown well outside the strike zone, and is the first player to be inducted to the Hall of Fame as an Angel. Oh yeah, and I think I could post the link up here. Let me copy. So I have a link that shows Vladimir Guerrero. He's just hitting everything. Like, he is hitting every single thing through. And he's literally just throwing everything that he hits everything. Which is extremely impressive for Vladimir Guerrero. Now, if you talk about one of their long-term successful players, we have Garrett Anderson, who is the all-time Angels leader in RBIs, games played, hits, at-bats, runs scored, and much more. He was extremely valuable, especially for the 2002 Angels team that won the World Series. He's definitely the most valuable long-term player in Angels history. He was a .283 hitter with over 2,500 hits and nearly 1,400 RBIs. And of course, Garrett Anderson was a 3-time All-Star as well, with his 2 Silver Sluggers. While he may not be the most flashy player, Garrett Anderson was really, really solid for the team. Now, in my opinion, let me talk about their best all-time player. This guy, Mike Trout. if you're a baseball fan and never heard of Mike Trout, you probably need to have your head examined. Mike Trout may just be the biggest star in baseball right now. Mike Trout has already been considered by many to be an all-time great already. And not only did he was a massive steal for the Angels in the 2009 draft. And not only is he the franchise face of the franchise for the Angels, he might just be the all-around best player the Angels have ever had. I know it's weird to say he's already great, but I mean, his offensive production is exceptional. And he's been compared to none other than Ted Williams, who is one of the all-time great hitters. Now, currently in his career, Mike Trout has had a career 305 batting average with over 1,400 hits, 310 home runs, 816 RBIs, and he was also a speed threat too. Don't underestimate his speed because he's got 203 stolen bases to put at it too. And he was also a 9-time All-Star, 3 times won the American League MVP. He was the 2012 AL Rookie of the Year, 8-time Silver Slugger, and twice won the American League Hank Aaron Award. Like Mike Trout, there was almost nothing Mike Trout can't do offensively. He could just do everything. And if he keeps playing like this, he will be in Cooperstown. I would definitely tell you that. And finally, I know this seems young, but then we gotta talk about Shohei Itani. I bet if you haven't heard about the baseball story yet about Shohei Itani, Shohei Itani came to the United States in 2018 from Japan, from the Nippon Baseball League. And he came to establish himself as an electrifying player on the Angels because he has something extremely unique that most MLB players don't have. Well, you see, Itani can actually both hit and pitch extremely well. And his 2021 season was historically significant for baseball by the commissioner, as Itani shined both shined in the batter's box and on the pitching mound too. Like, he was really good in both the pitching mound and offensively. I mean, he had an amazing season. And if you want to know about Shohei Itani's 2021 season, well, Shohei Itani really shined in 2021. Now, at the batter's box, this man hit 46 homers with 100 ribbies, and he did this on the offense. And then at pitching, this dude actually went 9-2 on the season with a 3.18 ERA and 156 strikeouts on the pitching mound. Like, Shohei absolutely dominated in 2021, and as soon as he gets his MVP name on there, Shohei Itani is going to get his MVP. But currently, he has a career 264 batting average with 93 home runs and 247 RBIs. And he has a career 13-5 record on the pitching mound with a 3.353 ERA and 222 strikeouts on the mound. Itani made the 2021 All-Star game and was also the 2018 Rookie of the Year. And of course, he's going to soon get the 2021 American League MVP, because Shohei Itani was absolutely amazing for the Angels. Just an incredible season for Shohei Itani. He's been a monster all season, and that's why I think he truly is a great. Why is it that pitchers are typically lousy batters? The reason why pitchers are so lousy at batting is because pitchers only come around like 3 or 4 times a game, and they only appear in the batting. Because remember, there's a rotation of 5 different pitchers. That's why the American League did the. Now, the DH, actually, friend, all good question. The designated hitter came around for the American League in 1973, and the reason why the AL decided to do the designated hitter is that because pitchers are usually selected for their pitching quality and not so much for their hitting. And in the American League wanted to have more runs and such. And also because, well, in 1968 there was one of the most dominant pitching seasons. So the American League tried to do anything to improve offense. Bad practice is permitted? Yeah, bad practice is permitted before the games, though. But not so much afterwards. And I think I see the runway. I'm gonna go ahead and lower my altitude and start diving down a bit. Yeah, I never done night flying before, which is actually really, really cool. I never done night flying. It's definitely very, very intense. With all the lighting, that's cool. Yeah, and outside the game, I almost crashed in the mountain and I had to use Y. Yeah, night flying's a bit of a challenge, but I mean, it's really well worth it. But I mean, to be fair, Allison used to fly a lot at night during her adventures as well. Had to do some night flying herself, so like with celestial navigation. So this isn't exactly new. But once I land, we'll probably wait till the daylight comes back. I wanted to do this my first leg at night. Well, I don't know if any of the flight from the Yoker's flight does anything with nighttime. So Warner Springs and all that is 2,000 feet below me at Warner Springs. So definitely very, very interesting flight, to say the least. Oh, I just saw, yeah, Kime is a spectacular night approach. Ooh, cool. Yeah, I definitely would think so, Kazaki, because it's Miami. You got bright lights everywhere in Miami. But I mean, I think once we land, we're gonna probably wait until the storm gets clear, and then we can do some daytime flying. Oh, the C-152 Logistic. Oh yeah, that from what I've heard, that's a great mod to have. From what I heard, I think it's a very, very good mod itself. So one thing I am happy to say, though, guys, is thanks to Beeman and a few others, I now have 150 plus followers, which is just awesome. I mean, and I believe, yeah, I see the runway. It's down here. Found it. Found the runway. Getting ready to land. Let's see. There. I love the VOR capabilities of the logistics. Yeah, that's really nice. I'm gonna go ahead and head to the restroom and blow my nose. I gotta blow my nose. So let me go ahead. Druid Zeus is down. Cessna 152, always a good choice. I'll be back. No. There you go, everyone. We got it landed here. All right. Now we can get back. Now we can get part of the next leg. So we're going to actually head across the May. And it looks like the worst of the storm has went by. We're going to still have some scattered clouds here and there. But the worst of the clouds is over. So everything is now nice and clear. So we're going to be heading to Kilo Romeo India Romeo at Riverside Municipal. So it's going to be a pretty easy flight. We can just once we get past this part, we can actually go at lower altitudes. We don't really need to do very much here. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful here. I've been loving this flight here very, very much. We're just going to get back to the... Now, what's one of the advantages of this the Savage Cub? Definitely its takeoff capabilities. The Savage Cub does not need much for one way to take off, because this is based off the Piper Super Cub, and that plane is a very, very light plane. And because it doesn't need modern avionics, it is a lightweight plane. You can... Yes, viewer with the logistics is nice. Yeah. This little beauty is not known for speed, but this is the purest form of the bush planes you can get. Definitely want to take the Satch Cup and more adventures. Just because it's such a nice plane, such an easy one to fly. You don't need any fancy stuff. So we're going to need to head into a different heading. So according to my nav map, we're going to be on the heading of 306 degrees. Now we're going to go through the side of the Palomar Mountain. So the Palomar Mountain, for those who don't know, Palomar Mountain is located in San Diego County. It's well known for being the famous location of the San Diego Palomar Observatory and Hale Telescope, which is one of the telescopes itself. The high point of the mountain is literally called High Point. It has an elevation of 6,140 feet, which is the top point of Palomar Mountain. And it's known for many different habitats, especially the higher elevations, as well. And the Palomar Observatory was established all the way back in 1928, and it has been used. It's now owned and operated by the California Institute of Technology, called Caltech. And apparently, it includes a 200-inch Hale telescope as well. So definitely some pretty cool and interesting landmarks here. I just need to climb up a little. Oh man, look at the beauty here today. What a beautiful sight here. Southern California. Give me some of that Southern California goodness. That's for sure. So, before I get going, the interesting facts about the Los Angeles Angels. One other unique fact about the Angels of Los Angeles Angels is one of the most interesting team names. So, for 10 seasons from 2005 to 2015, the Angels were called the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Yeah, that's just weird. That's like saying it's like naming your professional soccer team Paris Saint-Germain of Versailles. You could probably tell, wow, the Palomar telescope is very famous. Did Hubble work with it? Good question, actually. I don't think so. I don't really know. It's a Hale telescope, not a Hubble. But it's a different kind of telescope, though. But now we're going to talk about Los Angeles' more... Actually, we're going to talk about LA's more famous of the two baseball teams, by far. And definitely the most popular of the teams, the Los Angeles Dodgers. You see, the LA Dodgers have an extremely long history. The LA Dodgers were established all the way back in 1883. And as the Brooklyn Grays, they currently play in the NL West division. National West. In their long history, the Dodgers are one of the most successful franchises in the entire National League, with 7 World Series titles, most recently been in 2020. In their long history, they also won 24 National League pennants, 19 National League division titles, and 3 wildcard berths. The Dodgers play at the iconic Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. And their team colors are simple, but they are also just as iconic. The legendary shade of Dodger blue and white. From 1884 to 2021, the Dodgers' all-time record is 11,123 wins to 9,891 losses, with a 52.9% winning percentage, which is quite nice for the Dodgers. Now, the history of the Dodgers themselves go all the way back to 1883, actually, as real estate magnate Charles Byrne convinced his brother-in-law and a lawyer to form the Grays. They competed in the American Association, which was the old baseball league, from 1882 to 1889, and won the league's final title in 1889. They then joined the National League in 1890, and during that year, they took the first of their 24 National League pennants that year as well. And basically back then, the National League pennant back then was the champion of the league. So they were league champions of that year. No pun intended. Then the team, known as the Super Boss, won the National League pennant in 1889 and 1900, as proved to be quite successful by the end of the century. However, the Dodgers name that we know of only took off all the way back in 1911, though, and the team, as the Trolley Dodgers, took home the pennant in 1912, and then they eventually changed their name to the Robins, a name that they picked all the way to 1930, and the Robins actually took the pennant in 1916 and 1920, but they fell to both the Red Sox and the Indians in those World Series appearances, which is pretty rough for the team as well. For much of the 20s and 30s, though, the Dodgers weren't really that great. They finished in the lower half of the National League, except for a second-place finish in 1924. They finally changed their name for the final time, as they've been officially known as the Dodgers. In 1932, they played at Ebbets Field in 1909 as well. Just check, yes, it was where... Oh, that's cool. Yes, that's where... that's awesome. The Palomar Observatory. Cool. See, there's Palomar Mountain to our left. There's, let me pull this off. See, there's Palomar Mountain to our left. So definitely we get to see some beautiful California views. However, things started to change though. However, the Dodgers in the 30s were most notable as Ebbets Field, their iconic ballpark in Brooklyn, hosted the first ever televised broadcast of a Major League Baseball game on August 26, 1939 against the Cincinnati Reds. A moment that changed baseball forever. However, the 40s ended up being really good for the Dodgers, as they won their first National League pennant back in 41, but they faced against the Yankee dynasty again in the World Series. In fact, expect to see the Yankees name a lot in this, because the Dodgers in much of the 50s faced the Yankees. But 1947, though, was memorable. While yes, the Dodgers still won the National League pennant and didn't win the World Series, that wasn't actually the big reason the 40s were such a significant decade for the Dodgers. The reason for this is because, well, on April 15th of 1947, baseball in sports history was changed for the better, though, as Jackie Robinson made his debut and broke Major League Baseball's color barrier, changing all of American sports forever with his introduction. The Brooklyn Dodgers once again made it to the World Series back in 1949. But like 47, they lost to the Yankees, and through much of the 1950s, the team was a perennial National League pennant contender, including World Series appearances in 52 and 53, but lost in both of those World Series. But finally, 1955 was finally the season, as they finally beat the Yankees in 7 games to finally claim their first World Series title. However, Brooklyn baseball was not going to last much longer, though, for the fans of Brooklyn. You see, Walter O'Malley was kind of upset about his stadium not being built. He was trying hard to get a new stadium in Brooklyn. However, city officials refused, so he actually instead took the team and moved them to Los Angeles as the Dodgers played their final game in Brooklyn on September 24th, 1957. And Brooklyn fans still hate him to this day. In fact, he wasn't the only team that moved to California. The Giants moved there too. And by the way, the Giants and Dodgers are one of baseball's most intense rivalries, so I will mention the Giants quite a bit. So the Dodgers then actually moved to Los Angeles in 1958, but due to the process that O'Malley Stadium wanted to be built, well, because of the whole Chavez Ravine stuff, guess what the Dodgers played? Oh yeah, the LA Memorial Coliseum. And by the way, I'll delve more about detail on how they managed to even play baseball at the LA Memorial Coliseum. But in fact, they played for the 4 seasons in the LA Memorial Coliseum from 1958 to 1961. In 1959, the Dodgers made the World Series for the first time in Los Angeles, becoming the first team from California to make the World Series. And they beat the White Sox for title number 2, for their second title in franchise history. In 1962, the team moved to the now iconic Dodger Stadium. And not only did they won 102 games that year, but it was only for the second best in the National League. The next year, they actually swept the Yankees for title number 3, led by Don Drysdale and Sandy Koufax, who, by the way, was an absolutely disgusting pitching combination to say for the least. Then after 2 years later, the Dodgers made it back to the World Series in 1966, but the Baltimore Orioles were swept. Then afterwards, the Dodgers were subpar for several more seasons, but they were still developing new talent, so the Dodgers were bound to be contenders again. And this time, the Dodgers went back to the World Series in 1974, but the Oakland A's dynasty couldn't be stopped, so the Dodgers didn't stand much of a chance. And then legendary Dodgers manager Walton Alston retired, and he's replaced by a young Tommy Lasorda, who I think I know he's a crazy baseball personality, but he's quite a successful manager too. Quickly leading the Dodgers back to the World Series in 1977 and 1978. And thanks to the strike-shortened season, the Dodgers won the National League pennants, and title number 5 is claimed by beating the Yankees. After 2 more National League West titles in 83 and 85, the Dodgers went on a bit of a slump, but 1988, though, was a special year. The expectations were low, but despite all of that, they won the division, they beat a really good Mets team in the National Championship Series, and they even upset the Oakland A's, a team that was led by guys like Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco. And one of the most memorable moments of that series was Kirk Gibson's game-winning home run in Game 1, famously called by none other than Vince Scully, who I probably should put as a Dodger legend because he has been the voice of the team for decades. After 1980, though, the Dodgers only made 2 playoff appearances in the 90s, and were swept in both appearances. But things were looking pretty good in the 2000s. New ownership, Frank McCourt bought the team back in 2004, and won the National League for their first playoff appearance since '96 by winning the NL West in the final game of the year. But after a 2007 season, they led for much of the year, but the second half put them outside the wildcard race, so they replaced him with Joe Torre. And thanks to Joe Torre, the Dodgers won back-to-back NL West titles and advanced to the Championship Series in both 2008 and 2009, only to fall to the eventual pennant champions, the Philadelphia Phillies. In 2011, there was a bit of a controversy with ownership issues, so the team was sold to the Guggenheim Baseball Management Group, one of those people being Magic Johnson, for those that didn't know, and they hired a new manager, Don Mattingly, the former great Yankee first baseman. Thanks to new success, the 2010s was the most successful decade for the Dodgers since the 1950s, as they won 7 straight National League titles from 2013 to 2019. After a few disappointing playoff appearances, though, they couldn't exactly get it. The 2017 Dodgers took home the National League pennant for the first time since 1988 and faced the Astros in the World Championships. And they fell to the Astros in 7 games, but a lot of people say that title from 2017 should have been given to the Dodgers because of the whole Astros cheating scandal. They went back to the World Series the next year, but the Red Sox put a damper to that. 2019, they lost to the Washington Nationals in the NLDS, who would eventually go on to win the World Series. But 2020, the Dodgers claimed their 7th and most recent championship by beating the Tampa Bay Rays in the COVID-shortened season. And as of this year, the Dodgers won over 105 games, but were eliminated in the division series by they were eliminated in the NLCS by the Braves, who by the way are up 3 games to 1 on the Astros. So the Astros are only 1 game away from the World Series, which is insane. Now for the Dodgers, for a team that's been around since the 1800s, they got a lot of different players they want to pick. So for me at least, the Dodger legends I'm definitely picked. So the first one is the Silver Fox, Duke Snider, one of the all-time great center fielders in Major League history, and just one of the all-around great players in Major League Baseball. So Duke Snider is the best center fielder in team history, and he was a huge trigger man on the Dodgers in many of their successful seasons. Duke Snider was a .295 hitter with over 400 home runs, over 2,100 hits, and 1,333 RBIs. This man was an 8-time All-Star. He twice won the World Series for the Dodgers in 55 and 59. The Paramount Studios show some seats that have been in Dodger Stadium until 2005. Yep, Paramount Studios. Ah, cool. Thank you. Following his retirement, though, Duke Snider became a popular and respected TV radio host for the Padres and Expos. So Duke Snider definitely had some pretty interesting career. The next player, though, might just be one of baseball's most significant. We gotta talk about Jackie Robinson. Now, I did mention about Pee Wee Reese, but Jackie Robinson was one of the most significant players in Major League history. Now, he didn't just change baseball, though. He was a Hall of Fame talent on the field, but his influence went far beyond the baseball diamond. He broke the color barrier that once held that sport back and made significant contributions to the civil rights movement that in the 1950s and 60s. And in fact, despite all the racism and discrimination and all that stuff going for it, everything going against him, Jackie Robinson persevered and forever changed baseball and changed it for the better. Jackie Robinson's career, he was a .313 average, 141 home runs, 761 RBIs. Jackie Robinson was a 6-time All-Star, won the National League MVP back in 1949, the MLB Rookie of the Year in 1947, and twice led the National League in stolen bases. He was also most famous for stealing home in the 1955 World Series. How many hits? They didn't really keep a track of Jackie Robinson's hits, though. If you want to count how many hits Jackie Robinson got, let me look. Baseball Reference has got it. He has 1,563 hits. hits, 141 home runs. He was a 6-time All-Star. But the most important thing about Jackie Robinson is on April 15th, 1997, Major League Baseball retired his 42 for every single team, making him the only player to have his number retired by every single team. In addition, as well, Jackie Robinson's number, there's a Jackie Robinson Day, where every player wears the number 42 on April 15th, the day he actually entered the league. Everyone wears his 42 on Jackie Robinson Day. definitely one of the most memorable and celebrated baseball players. Next one is Roy Campanella. Now, Roy Campanella was one of the best pit catchers of all time, definitely one of the top two in the 1950s. He was a dominant force at the plate, and even though he had that career-ending injury, Roy Campanella held many positions within the Dodger organization, mostly as a scout and executive. Roy Campanella also played for the Negro Leagues, so I'm going to add both their stats. And that's why and the 299 was because I added both his averages and then divide them by 2, since they're both leagues. In both his career in both leagues, Roy Campanella hit 299 with 260 home runs and 1,061 RBIs. The reason there wasn't very many hits was because, like I said, there wasn't a lot of great data from those black baseball leagues. If you remember, some of you all remember back from that stream, there wasn't a lot of great record keeping from those leagues back then. So that's why the number of hits. But if you want to check about how many hits he had, in his career he has 1,041 hits. .260 home. Now, Roy Campanella was a 3-time All-Star in the Negro Leagues, an 8-time Major League All-Star, 3 times was a National League MVP, and he was the National League RBI leader back in 1953. Now, if you wonder, with all those great stats, how did his career end so early? Well, his automobile accident was. So, it happened all the way back after the 1957 season. So, Roy Campanella was driving home to Glen Cove in New York. While traveling around 30 miles an hour, his Chevrolet sedan hit a patch of ice on an S-curve. It skidded over a telephone pole and overturned, which actually broke Campanella's neck. And because of his neck broke, he was paralyzed from the shoulders down. Thankfully, though, with physical therapy, he was able to regain substantial use of arms and hand, but he can never play another major, and he'd be able to feed himself, shake hands, and gesture, but he required a wheelchair for mobility, and that means his baseball career was over, very sadly. I would love to see Roy Campanella continue to play, but I mean, I'm just happy that he could still do many of the things that everyone else could. So, I'm happy to see that he actually still is alive, thank goodness, after the accident. But then the next player is probably the best pitcher in team history, is Sandy Koufax. Born in Brooklyn, Sandy Koufax played for the Dodgers from 1955 to 1965, and he is one of the best left-handed pitchers of all time. He is also probably one of the finest Jewish athletes. And one of the most famous moments of Sandy Koufax's career was Game 1 of the 1965 World Series, and he didn't even play in that series, mind you. He didn't play in that game. And you wonder, why did he not play? Well, you see, Game 1 of the World Series that year fell on Yom Kippur, which is the holiest day in Judaism. And he didn't want to break the fast on Yom Kippur, so he actually sat out of the game and let Don Drysdale pitch that game. Which is definitely very interesting, but the fact is he respected his faith, and that's something a lot of people can respect. But one other thing people feared, though, was his devastating curveball. His devastating curveball and four-seam fastball, combined with his high leg kick, Sandy Koufax was almost unhittable at times. He was unstoppable. He's won 165 games with a 2.76 ERA and 2,396 strikeouts. He's a 7-time All-Star. He even took home a National League MVP in 1963, a 3-time Cy Young Award winner, and a Triple Crown and wins leader too. 5 times led the National League in ERA, and 4 times led the Major League in strikeouts. And he was the first Major League pitcher to pitch 4 no-hitters, and the 8th pitcher to pitch a perfect game in baseball history. If you wonder why the player is so dominant, why he didn't have a relatively short career, well, it was due to his injuries. And those injuries eventually got him out of the league by 1965. He had a lot of shoulder pain issues, and that really hurt his career. Had he been around longer, he could have easily gotten over 200 wins. He was just that good. And he was often paired with another dominant Dodger pitcher, that being Don Drysdale. 6'5", Don Drysdale was extremely intimidating. He wasn't afraid to throw brushback pitchers to intimidate players. How did he get his name Sandy Koufax? Great question, actually. So how did he exactly get Sandy Koufax? Well, Sandy Koufax got his nickname because, you see, he was born as Sanford Koufax. So Sanford, it's basically Sandy is a short name of Sanford. He was originally born as Sanford Braun, but he changed his name because of his mother abandoning his old father and got remarried. So there's why he's got Sandy Koufax. But good question. Now, Don Drysdale was extremely intimidating, and he wasn't afraid to intimidate batters with his brushback pitches. In fact, he once led the National League in hit batters because he wasn't afraid of being hit. After his career, he became a broadcaster and a radio and television broadcaster. In fact, he broadcasted for much of the 70s and 80s. Don Drysdale won over 200 games with 209 wins, with a 2.95 ERA, with almost 2,500 strikeouts, a 9-time All-Star. He was a Cy Young Award winner in 1962 and 3 times led the league in strikeouts. Him and Koufax made an extremely devastating pair of pitchers you had to respect. If you didn't respect what they can do, this is a duo that can absolutely bring the pain. And finally, the last Dodger and the most recent one is going to be Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw is quickly become probably the best pitcher in the 21st century. He is unbelievably good. In fact, a lot of people compare him to Sandy Koufax, and trust me, that comparison is extremely valid. They're both Dodger pitchers, they're both left-handed, and both are near unhittable. So yes, the comparison is extremely similar. In fact, he's lasted longer than Koufax too, which is probably insane. But that just shows you that Clayton Kershaw is an unbelievable talent. Now, he's won 185 games with a 2.49 ERA and almost reaching 2,700 strikeouts. Kershaw is an 8-time All-Star, the 2014 National League MVP. 3 times he was a Cy Young Award winner, led the National League in wins, and led the National League in strikeouts, and 5 times had the lowest ERA in the National League. In fact, Clayton Kershaw, one of his most dominant pitching performances in his career, and in fact, if you want to talk about Kershaw's dominance on the mound, well, let me just tell you how dominant he really is. For example, his MVP season back in 2014, he won 21 games. He had an ERA of 1.7 and struck out 239 batters. To put this in perspective, this was an era full of hitting, and he was throwing under 2. Like, Kershaw is absolutely insane. And one of the reasons is because he has a lot of deception and movement and velocity changes. He was just like Koufax. He was extremely dominant in that way. And he was also a bit of a perfectionist. Want to make sure everything gets it right. But I mean, when you put up the ridiculous numbers and success that Kershaw's had, yeah, you have every reason to boast about your performance. It's ridiculous. Koufax is nuts. I mean, Clayton Kershaw's nuts. He is unbelievably good. We got 9 viewers in the chat. I want to thank everyone for being here. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's beautiful here in the valley. Just definitely very, very nice. That's why I'm going to pick the Cub, because it's nice and slow. Perfect for today's flight. When does trigger take place? Halloween or even before? Mainly on Halloween. It can appear before if you can't make it to Halloween, but I would suggest probably at Halloween night. That's for sure. I was supposed to have the scenery Palomar Observatory, but I don't think it's installed. Ah. Sorry to hear about that. Okay. Oh, I just got an announcement from Murph. So, Murph said all his live streams are going to be at 2000 Zulu. Start each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So he's going to change his time to 2000 Zulu because of the daylight savings change. Interesting. Now, it's going to be next week, though, for at least where I live. It's going to start on November 7th. So we're gonna have well, we're nearly there actually. Right ahead of us should be the airport. Lots and lots of hills and such, that's for sure. Hey, Alcoholic Shane, good to see you. Happy Halloween. Thank you. Yep. Outside of Flight Sim, I've been playing a zombie game called Back for Blood with my friends. And that's what I've usually been doing. That's what I've been doing for my Halloween is just shoot some zombies for Halloween. Yeah, it's beautiful here with the clouds. Definitely very, very nice. No need for lightning. Just now for the runway, we're gonna go ahead and pull the nav map. So we're gonna be heading. We're gonna land at runway 24. as well. So, I think that's our one way down here. It is. So this is Riverside, California. This is home to the University of California, Riverside, the Highlanders. So we're just going to go take it straight down. I mean, this is just really, really nice area to fly. Like, I want to fly more of the local VOR flights. So, Alcohol Exchange, we were flying from San Diego to Los Angeles, Alcohol Exchange. We're going to be overlooking Dodger Stadium and some of the other iconic LA and Anaheim landmarks. Very nice scenery. Yeah, Southern California is beautiful. That's why a lot of people like to visit Southern California. Though that being said, whoa, 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 whoa. Careful, there's a big bump in the runway. So, watch out, there's a bump in the runway. Just watch out, Goblin Zeus. There's a bump in the middle of the runway, so be very careful. So as we wait for him to land, there is something I do want to show you. So the uniform history is very unique. So when the Angels first appeared in Los Angeles, this is what they look like. The most unique feature from these uniforms is the halo ring on top of the cap, which is definitely a very unique thing. It represented the old Pacific Coast League Angels. And that's what they wore for their first couple seasons of existence. Then they became the California Angels, and they wore that halo all the way to the early 19th until 1971 as the California Angels. Yep. Yeah, there's the bump. And they wore these uniforms all the way to the 1992. Then they switched into these uniforms. Then once they got done, then they switched to the Anaheim Angels, and they rebranded the late 90s to this, which is their uniform, which has got multiple shades of blue, red. It's also got periwinkle blue. And what do you mean about periwinkle blue? Well, the Angels in the late 90s even had a uniform that were periwinkle blue. They let me show you. Yeah, that was a massive jump. Yep. This is what they wore for much. This is one of their alternates. They got periwinkle blue sleeves. Yes, periwinkle. Just why? Why would you wear periwinkle? That's like Murph wearing pink. Why? That color is so wrong. Well, thankfully they changed back to this is what they currently wear ever since. These are the Angels currently wear nowadays. Nice and simple with red as a color scheme. Nice and simple. The Angels haven't changed much. That being said, the Dodgers have not changed much. While the Angels changed quite a bit over the years, the Dodgers have not changed much since the 50s. They haven't even changed. But despite all the years as a franchise, the LA Dodgers have not changed much of their uniforms. They stay relatively the same. Now for my nav map, let me pull up my nav. For my nav map, we'll go for the final leg of the journey from Kilo Romeo India Romeo to Kilo Bravo Uniform Romeo. We're going to be visiting quite a few landmarks in Anaheim and LA. So, yeah, they have a very elegant style. Yep, the Dodgers, elegant, simple. But hey, that's why the Dodgers uniforms are such an iconic look. Don't worry about landing there, Kazaki. I'm going to go ahead and straight take off. Just watch out for the bump, Kazaki. I don't want your plane landing gear to be damaged. So, don't worry about it. Okay, now we're gonna be heading to Anaheim. So Anaheim, California is located in Orange County, and it's actually the 10th most populous city in all of California. Anaheim was developed by 50 different German families in 1857, and developed quite well, producing electronics, aircraft parts, and canned fruit. But Anaheim is also the home to some of LA's other sports teams, particularly the Angels and the Ducks. Now, Anaheim Landmarks include Disneyland. Yes, by the way, Disneyland is the original theme park of the Walt Disney World chain. Angel Stadium, which is the iconic Major League ballpark of the LA Angels. And finally, the Honda Center, which is home to the Anaheim Ducks. Used to be called back in the 90s the Anaheim Mighty Ducks of the National Hockey League. Some notable people include famous tennis star Elizabeth Ryan, Lonzo Ball, and Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods grew up in Cyprus, which is not far from Anaheim. So definitely some very famous Anaheimians. I believe that's what it's called. Disneyland is actually the original theme park that was built as the first of the two theme parks at the Disneyland Resort. It was opened all the way back in 1955. It is the only theme park designed and built to completion under the direct supervision of Walt Disney himself. Walt Disney actually himself came up with this park after visiting various amusement parks with his daughters in the 30s and 40s. And he envisioned building a tourist attraction adjacent to his studios to entertain fans. However, after the previous site was too small, he bought 160-acre land near Anaheim in 1953. Ever since opening, it's built with many different renovations, with many different areas, including New Orleans Square, Mickey's Toontown, and the most recent being Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Disneyland has the larger community of attendance than any other theme park in the world, with over 726 million visits since it's opened, as of December 2018. In fact, the FAA has declared it a zone of prohibited airspace. In fact, no aircraft can even fly within the zone. Well, guess what? Since this is a flight sim, we can do it. Because this is Flight Simulator. In real life, we can't even hope to even do it. So, yeah. In fact, Disneyland is shared with this distinction with other pieces of critical infrastructures like military base, Pantex, and whenever the President of the U.S. travels outside of D.C. So yeah, that's... But definitely, Disneyland is absolutely huge with attendance. So yeah, we'll be flying over Disneyland. servers, gotta love them. They really need to get this fixed by the Reno update. That's the last thing we need, is have server issues during the Reno events. That's the last thing we need. So another thing in Anaheim, right next to it, is going to be Honda Center. So Honda Center, for those who don't know, the Honda Center was opened all the way back in 1993. It was built to be the arena of the then new Anaheim Ducks, originally called the Mighty Ducks because Disney once owned them. Originally, the Honda Center was known as Arrowhead Pond of Anaheim. And it has been the Honda Center since 2006. It's also been home to a few other teams that previously existed. Now the arena can actually seat up to, it seats up to 17,000 for hockey, but for basketball it can go up to 18,000. And it will also be a site during the 2028 Summer Olympics for indoor volleyball. Will be held here. The largest crowd to ever visit an Anaheim Ducks game was March 20th, 2013, with a crowd of 17,610. There's that as well. Just remember how cool the Ducks used to be called the Mighty Ducks. And for those that don't know, that team was based off, the name was based off the Mighty Ducks movie that actually came back in 1992. But the real stadium we're going to be visiting is going to be Angel Stadium. So Angel Stadium's changed a lot since it's opened. It opened all the way back in 1966 and has been the home of the Los Angeles Angels ever since. Angel Stadium has a seating capacity of 45,000 fans. And the dimensions are mostly symmetrical. 347 in left, 390 at left center, 396 center field, 370 at right center field, and 350. And there's also a scoreboard on by the wall, which is increased in right field. Now, some notable features include the iconic Big A in the parking lot, a California Spectacular in center field, and Major League Baseball's fourth largest scoreboard in right field. Now, some notable events include the 2002 World Series, the 1967, 89, and 2010 Major League All-Star Games have been held here, and it's going to be one of the baseball sites used in the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. Yes, LA is going to be where one of the next Olympic Games are going to be held here in Los Angeles. Now, Angel Stadium's changed a lot since it originally opened. So back when Angel Stadium used to be for the Angels back in the 60s and almost to the 70s, see the top here? That is where Angel Stadium used to look like. And the Big A wasn't in the parking lot. The Big A was actually right and left center field. Well, that started to change when the Rams moved out of the LA Memorial Coliseum and moved into Angel Stadium. So they added tons of new seats. It moved the Big A back in the parking lots, and it looked like another multi-purpose stadium. And this was there until after the Rams left in '95, and the Angels instead changed back into the bottom part to what it looks like today. So yes, Angel Stadium has changed a lot since then in terms of looks. So it definitely has changed a lot since then. Yeah, it's a very modern design. That's what it looked like back then. Originally it was baseball, and then it was turned into a multi-purpose facility, and then it went back to being a baseball-only stadium. So definitely very interesting as well. So we're now flying over Anaheim Hills, which is what's going to lead us to Anaheim, California. So LA has two baseball teams, the Dodgers and Angels. Yes. And you wonder, why are there an LA team called Angels? Yes, two basketball teams called the Clippers and Lakers. That's also correct. They also have two hockey teams, the LA Kings and the Anaheim Ducks. Yes, I know the Ducks are from Anaheim, but technically they're in the greater LA region. Two MLS teams call home in LA. Two major college programs are from LA. So yes, LA is a huge city, and it makes sense. LA is America's second largest city. Yes, two football teams, the Rams and Chargers. So yeah, LA is a huge market. And what's funny is that the NHL didn't come back to LA until 2015. So definitely very, very weird for all. But yeah, great, good points. So I want to ask you guys though. I know the Hawk just came out recently, so I'm hoping that whoever has the Hawk actually likes flying it. They also have two soccer teams as well, or true classic football teams. Probably gonna drop. I'm gonna drop in altitude. Just drop in altitude. Next to interstate, it says 200 Years of Freedom, 1976. Yep. Frequently, the fan teams have very different personalized fan bases. Cannot root for both. Yeah, very much so. So I gotta turn back. Yeah, that's very similar to quite a few other cities. New York City is the same thing with its two a newly every team. New York, Chicago has this issue. LA, even San Francisco has it, considering I know not so much San Francisco. So there's the now up here is the Honda Center. Now let me get past here. So this is the Honda Center to our left. This is home to the Anaheim Ducks. Hockey team. Used to be called the Mighty Ducks. The Mighty Ducks, Mighty Ducks. Now we're in Angel Stadium. This is Angel Stadium, located in beautiful Anaheim, California, home to the Angels. I'm gonna go ahead and put the there. So this here is Angel Stadium. Now, don't mind the trees. I blame the autogen scenery for this, but you see, this is what Angel Stadium looks like from the outside. When you get inside of the stadium, there's the California Spectacular in center field, right here. That's the California Spectacular. There's the scoreboard, but it's covered in shrubs. They really need to cut down on the auto-generated trees at some areas. There's the bullpen. There's the scoreboard seats right here in right field. It's got a little out-of-town scoreboard. However, Angel Stadium's most iconic landmark, though, is going to be the Big A, and that's right here in the parking lot. So if you remember back from my intro slide, I showed the picture of the Big A. Let me go ahead and pull that back out. Let me show you. See, this is the Big A from the parking lot. So they actually modeled the Big A. That's correct. So there it is, the Big A, and look at that. It matches completely with the Big A picture. Look at that. That is pretty cool. So that is the Anaheim Stadium for you. I'm gonna go. Yeah. Okay. Now that we head to LA, we're gonna fly over Disneyland for a bit. Topps is a huge trading card company here in the States. Yep, Topps makes all sorts of cards. Not just baseball, though. Topps has made other sports and stuff, including basketball, hockey, football. Topps is a huge name for sports cards. Huge, huge name. 10 people. I mean, I'm really impressed with everyone who's come here today. Thank you, everyone, for coming here with me today who wants to join me on this flight. Thank you so much, everyone. I see Angry One Horns in the chat. So yeah, this area here, this is Disneyland. Disneyland is the iconic theme park of Disney. So all of this is Disneyland. We're going to be just doing a quick pass. Just flying around the perimeter. So there's all sorts of classic theme park rides. There's the Incredicoaster, themed after the Incredibles. Look at that. That's cool. They modeled all of Disneyland afterwards. Okay, once we go here, after we get done with Disneyland, we're going to visit Knott's Berry Farm, which is another theme park located around the area. So the story of Knott's Berry Farm goes all the way back to all the way back to the 1920s. It's been called America's first theme park. So it used to be and the reason they call it Knott's Berry Farm is because the theme park it was actually on the site of a former berry farm. And basically the theme and apparently the park attracts 4 million visitors a year. It contains 4 different rides, including roller coasters, family rides, dark rides, and more. It is actually the 12th most visited theme park in the country, by the way. Some of the most iconic rides in the park include Silver Bullet, Ghost Rider, and one of their newest rides, Hang Time. So we'll be definitely visiting a few of their coasters. I was watching too much Disneyland and Hard Landing. Oh. Medic! Medic. So Knott's Berry Farm is located right ahead of us. So this here is Knott's Berry Farm, located in LA. You got better. So there's some of the iconic theme park. There's the water park. Now here's the main theme park. Let's see, I can make out a few rides. There's Silver Bullet by the park's entrance. Accelerate here, XLCR. There's Ghost Rider over here, their wooden coaster. There's Ghost Rider. There's quite a few Knott's Berry Farm landmarks. Yep, now I get back in the cockpit. Now we're going to visit Dignity Health Sports Park. So Dignity Sports Park is home to the LA Galaxy Football Club. The most famous being the first American club that David Beckham, one of the great soccer stars of all time, David Beckham, went to the United States, which was a major deal for soccer in the U.S. or at least for association football in the U.S., depending on if you're from abroad. Also, what's weird about Dignity Self Sports Park is actually a weird fact that this actually was where the LA Chargers played for their first couple seasons while SoFi Stadium got built as well, which is pretty unusual to say for the least. But now let's talk about Los Angeles for a bit. So LA, bro. Now Los Angeles is not only the largest city in California by far, it is also the nation's second largest city in the country, behind only New York City. Los Angeles is nicknamed the City of Angels. Well, it makes sense, because Los Angeles literally translates to city of Los Angeles literally translates by population. Yes, that's correct. That's correct. And the reason why Los Angeles is called City of Angels is the name itself. Los Angeles literally translates to of angels. It's Now, Los Angeles has a really long and deep history. It's also been nicknamed the entertainment capital of the world because of Hollywood. Yep, City of Angels. Los Angeles has a diverse and robust economy and holds its business in a broad range of cultural and professional fields, especially with entertainment because it's a home of Hollywood. Sports is a big deal because LA's got tons of sports teams, not just professional sports teams, but also the collegiate part. Especially UCLA and University of California, Los Angeles, and University of Southern California call LA home. Of course, LA has also been home to the FIFA World Cup. But currently, Los Angeles has got tons of landmarks. One of LA's biggest landmarks is the Hollywood sign that overlooks one of the mountains. Dodger Stadium in the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but there's plenty of other landmarks. The LA Memorial Coliseum, Staples Center, LA Convention Center, the Griffith Observatory, SoFi Stadium, and much, much more. LA's got a ton of landmarks. And if you go more to Pasadena, there's the Rose Bowl too. So lots of Los Angeles landmarks. And some of not the many famous people that actually lived in LA. Don's Drivesdale lives not far out of LA. The famous rapper and entertainer Ice Cube. And it's also LA's the birthplace of the legendary Cowboys owner, Jerry Jones, also calls LA home. So definitely a very interesting thing as well. I know this isn't the fastest plane in the whole world, but this should get its one fastest at all locations. I like the photo with the snowy mountain in the background. Yeah. Some of these landmarks, including the Hollywood sign, are not considered shown in MSFS, with some add-ons to complete it. Maybe a licensing issue. Yeah, that's a real shame. but I still put them as a PY landmark just in case. I wish this was part of the scenery. Why are there two motorbikes with blue lights running down the interstate? Good question. I think it does show them, but I don't know. Now, over below us, that is the Los Angeles River that flows through the city. Is the Los Angeles River itself. A lot of it's flowed through the aqueducts in LA. Definitely one of the more interesting. Yeah, they did film here. LA is so vast. We're still all over the city. Yeah, LA's huge. And of course, there's another thing too around the Los Angeles area. I forgot to mention all the beaches that's all throughout around the LA area. Huntington Beach, Long Beach. Also, LA's got the battleship USS Iowa as well. There is Redondo Beach, Manhattan Beach, Dockwell Beach, Venice Beach, Santa Monica, Santa Barbara, and all that around the LA area. Now, the mountain around LA that you saw there, that was from Mount San Antonio through the Angeles Mountain Forest. So these are Pina Fonda and Dennis Hopper. Ah, cool. Hey, Splasher6, good to see you. The stream's going great. We're in Los Angeles right now. So check out Splasher6 streams. He usually streams Mondays or Tuesdays doing the Pan American Highway. Fridays he usually brings something fun and exciting for the flights. This is Dignity Health Sports Park in front of us. So this is where the Chargers used to play for a couple of seasons, but mainly it's a soccer venue for the LA Galaxy. But yeah, this is Dignity Health Sports Park with its soccer venue. We're now going to turn around and we're going to visit SoFi Stadium. Now, if you guys never seen SoFi Stadium, in the sim it shows as construction sites, but this is what SoFi Stadium looks like now. This thing is pretty nice. So SoFi is built in Inglewood. It opened just September of last year. It's home to both of LA's football teams, the Rams and Chargers. It has a seating capacity of 70,000, but it can expand all the way to 100,240 fans. Including development of the area, it cost $5 to $6 billion to get this built. I mean, it's huge. It's a very big, very, very nice stadium. Yeah, this is SoFi Stadium, guys. It is definitely a very nice place to check out a football game. But I mean, I'm kind of happy that football came back to LA. Like, I'm surprised LA, with such a huge market, doesn't have a professional football team. Definitely very, very nice. Also, next to it is the Forum, and that's located right next. The Forum was southeast. Now, the LA Forum was for the long time the home of the Los Angeles Lakers until 1999. It was also home to the LA Kings hockey team. And a few other teams used to call it home. That old venue can seat up to 17,000 people. And it's going to be used to host the 2020 Olympics for the Summer Olympic Games for gymnastics. And SoFi Stadium is also going to be used for the Olympics as well, as SoFi Stadium will be used for the opening and closing ceremonies of the 2020 Olympics. And mainly, SoFi Stadium will be used to host archery and in soccer matches at the Summer Olympics. Will be SoFi Technologies, now the parent, a mobile first service based in San Francisco. Yep, that's correct. That's a huge tab thing. Yep, that's SoFi Stadium. Yep, that's correct. And this big thing right next to it is Los Angeles International. Kilo Lima Alpha X-Ray. Yeah, Los Angeles International, one of the busiest airports in the country. Also, I forgot one more thing about SoFi Stadium. It's also going to be one of the main. It's also going to be one of the stadiums in the 2026 FIFA World Cup, because since because the 2026 FIFA World Cup is going to be held. SoFi Stadium is going to be. It could actually. I don't think SoFi Stadium is going to host the World Cup. Actually, in the U.S., the Rose Bowl is going to hold the World Cup in L.A. There is SoFi Stadium. There's the plot for it. We just flew over it. Then there's the Forum down here. So there's the old L.A. Forum. Now we're going to be visiting one of LA's most iconic landmarks. Now, the LA Memorial Coliseum. Now, normally, it's a football stadium. It usually plays host to the USC Trojans college football team and for Olympic events. So, I want to ask you guys, how does this Coliseum exactly work for baseball? Well, let me show you. This is what it looks like for baseball. The legendary LA Memorial Coliseum was built in 1923 as the main stadium of the USC Trojans football program. The Dodgers actually played there from 1958 to 1961 while they were waiting for Dodger Stadium to get built. The Coliseum currently seats 77,000 fans, though previously it seated up to 90,000. And the outfield dimensions are kind of weird. 251 in left field, 320 in left center, 420 in center field, 380 right center, and 300 in right field. Now, the 251 and 320, over those things, they placed a 40-foot high screen in left center field. And then in 1958, center field was 440 feet, but that's been shown to 420. Yes, this was actually from the most recent baseball game being held here in 2008 during an exhibition game. The notable features include a new press box, an Olympic cauldron right there, and the Peristyle Plaza entrance, which is this famous entrance over here. And we'll be heading there very soon. Notable events include the 1932, 1984, and 2028 Summer Olympics, the 1959 World Series, and Super Bowl 8, which was this was the Super Bowl where the Dolphins completed their perfect season at. Quite the memorable stuff. And we got the LA Memorial Coliseum coming up. In addition, LA Memorial Coliseum was built right next to the campus of University of Southern California, which is one of the most well-known universities in the country, especially when it comes to college football. So let me go ahead and get that. So this is the LA Memorial Coliseum. This is what it traditionally looked like for football and stuff. And you can clearly see from the slideshow picture, it just looks so out of place when you compare the baseball to the football configuration. And you can see why, yeah, it wasn't so optimal for baseball, if you ask me. So, yeah. But you see the iconic entrance. You see the huge capacity. Now, this was before the press box was added to the stadium. Okay, then afterwards, after we go here, we're going to visit the site of Wrigley Field in Los Angeles. Yes, there were two of them, and yes, it was named after the same guy, Sam Wrigley. But this was the home to LA's minor league team, and the MLB Angels played there for their original season. It seated 20,000 fans, and the dimensions were actually somewhat of a bandbox, as you can see here. Now, what made Wrigley Field such an iconic ballpark, though, despite its not really prevalent, is it was a popular place to film a lot of baseball movies in Hollywood, especially the movie Pride of the Yankees in 1942 and 1958's okay, Damn Yankees. There you go. I'm not gonna say much, but this was a very popular place to film a lot of baseball movies, so that's probably why. Let me go ahead and quickly turn this bad boy around. And here's downtown Los Angeles right in front of us. Downtown LA, beautiful Los Angeles environment. Beautiful downtown LA, absolutely beautiful place. So one of the few places we're going to be flying over is the Staples Center. This is the stadium that's home to Los Angeles, the LA Lakers, the LA Clippers, and the LA Kings, all call Staples Center home. And it's located right next to the LA Convention Center, which is right over here. Now, it's also been home to the LA Sparks women's basketball team. Now, this stadium is quite flexible as it can seat 19,000 people for basketball, 18,000 for hockey, and more. And it's hosted to tons of concerts and other events. See, there's Staples Center right here. Yeah, look at that, LA. I knew spring training, the Cubs were training Catalina Island. Yeah, that's what I heard. There's Splasher. Yeah, Wrigley family had a built stadium in LA. Yeah, it was used a lot during the movies. Now we're going to get to the place that I think every one of us should be expecting to visit. Walter O'Malley's dream stadium, Dodger Stadium, one of the most iconic ballparks in the league. It's the third oldest ballpark in the league after Fenway Park and Wrigley Field. It has a seating capacity of 56,000, the largest of any baseball stadium currently in the world. And the outfield dimensions are actually pretty much symmetrical. But one of the most iconic things about Dodger Stadium is the view from the Chavez Ravine. A new center field plaza and a wavy rooftop usually on the top of the stadium. Now, notable events include the 1963 World Series, the 1988 NLCS and World Series games, and the upcoming 2028 Summer Olympics, which shares its home with the LA Angels. And we're already at Dodger Stadium. So, guys, This is Dodger Stadium, one of the most iconic ballparks in the world. And it actually looks quite well. Actually, the photogrammetry got it pretty well, so you can see. What's weird is that the parking lot right here is actually above the stadium seats, so definitely a very cool view. Yeah, I mean, if you sit somewhere like right here, you would get absolutely beautiful views of the mountains. At the legendary Dodger Stadium. This is an incredible ballpark. Definitely one of the best ballparks in the league. Just imagine this being the view watching your game. Here. Definitely symmetrical features. Huge parking lots. In the Chavez Arena, you can't beat that. No one can. Such a beautiful ballpark, and it's got a massive parking lot. Now, the major issue, my dad took two sisters to the game there, and you got to see Sandy Koufax. Your sisters must be lucky to see Sandy Koufax. I was talking about him earlier on my stream. Sandy Koufax is an amazing pitcher. One of the most dominant pitchers in Major League history. So next we're going to fly over the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and wait, is that the Hollywood sign I see? It is. So the Hollywood sign, for those that don't know, the Hollywood sign was actually created in 1923 on Mount Lee, and it was originally created as a temporary advertisement, but due to the recognition, the sign was actually left up, and it's one of the most well-known landmarks in the entire country, especially in pop culture, as it was used in establishing shots for films and television programs. Apparently, though, the trademark to the sign was held by the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. Originally, it was in disarray, but the sign was restored all the way back in 1978 by actually Hugh Hefner. Yes, the founder of Playboy actually helped restore the landmark. And which is actually quite funny. Yeah, I was only 3 years old. I had to stay home. Yeah, I was 3. Did you ever get a chance to visit Dodger Stadium? So this is the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which is right in front of me. And one of the buildings right around where I'm at is the famous, one of the more famous buildings in all of Hollywood. The Capitol Records building should be down around here. So right here is the Capitol Records building. This is where some of the records label is at. One of the most interesting things about the Capitol Records building is it has an underground area that people can actually hear records for, and apparently the quality of it's really, really high, to say for the least. Next, we're going to visit actually one of the PY landmarks in the game, Griffith Observatory. That opened all the way back in 1935, and it was used as a planetarium and observatory. And during the 1960s, this was used to train the Apollo program astronauts at the planetarium. And there's many different kinds of exhibits, including a Tesla coil, an astronomer's monument, and many different stuff here at the observatory. And it is a POA landmark by a Sobel. I believe they added it in the USA World Update. So there's the Griffith Observatory. Right here. There's the So there's the Griffith Observatory. Right over here. See the astronomer's monument. And now we're going to visit the Hollywood sign. I think I see the Hollywood sign. There's Hollywood. Time for me to be a big star. Yep. There's the Hollywood sign at the actual end. Look at that. Hollywood. And there it is. There's Bob. Oh, whoa, back! I'm dead. Don't mind it. It will buff. The injury from this will buff out. As Two-Tone Murphy would say, it'll buff out. Okay, for my NEM. Okay, looks like we're flying over the Warner Brothers studio. Yeah, medic. Okay, we're going to land at runway 33. We're just going to land straight in. This will be our final stop here in Los Angeles. Don't mind the plane crash. There's nothing to see here. Oh, that's funny. That's hilarious. Hollywood stunt. And I think we're going to get landed. Going to pull up my flaps just to slow me down a little. Come on. And I'm down. It did show the landing part. That's weird. But hey, I landed. And because this thing is a short takeoff landing machine, just gonna probably move to the parking taxiway. And that's going to complete our journey in Los Angeles today. LA is done. So, we'll just wait for Martel and the rest to get landed. Yeah, what a great flight. Frindall's here. So yeah, Bob Hope. This is where we're going to take off next week. Actually, not next week, though. I'm going to wait till y'all get landed first. I love LA. Yeah. Yeah, LA's cool. If you don't mind the crime. And the Hollywood drama. Here's your Zeus, friend to all. And it looks like friends all down. And now we just get Martel. Once we do that, our stream will be over. And cost of living, yes. But to be fair, you can apply that to all of California if you really wanted to. You can put it for all of California for cost of living. Martel is down, and that's going to complete our journey to Los Angeles. This was a fun stream. I really enjoyed it. Assuming if you don't mind me crashing in a burn and fire and traffic. Yes, LA's notorious for that too. So, everyone, thank you for all coming here, everyone who's visited. Now, I will have something to tell you, though. I'm probably going to mention it on my Discord. I am going to be streaming on Wednesday, but the series is going to be put on hold due to vacation. So I won't be around for next Sunday, the following Wednesday after next Sunday, and then the Sunday afterwards. So I'm going to not be streaming after next Wednesday. So I'm just letting you all know that that's going to be my plans. I want to thank everyone for being here and see you on Wednesday. But before we do it, we're going to raid Captain Seppi. He's currently doing his Pan Am journey, so we're going to raid Seppi for a bit. How's everyone sound about that? Let's go watch the dude actually fly a DC-6. So thank you, everyone, and see you later.